enter the world of 3D. Hello everyone and welcome to this Blender course. In this first chapter you will get acquainted with the magic world of 3D. It is short but important because it will give you an idea of what you will do throughout this course and by what means you will achieve that. Take a few minutes to read it quietly, to listen to me, as I promise this is going to be interesting. So what is 3D? But first, what is 3D? 3D is an abbreviation of three dimensions: length, width, and depth. It is commonly said, I do 3D when, and this is soon your case, when you use software allowing you the creation in space and not simply plan indeed. Unlike painting, drawing a photo, or editing, our tools takes into account a third dimension. Concretely, doing 3D means that you sit comfortably in front of your computer and that thanks to Blender or any other 3D software and your mouse, you will be able to create shapes, the shapes that you want. A table, a house, a monster, a car, and a color, a theme, and why not make a little animation? Sounds pretty cool, does it not? Do not confuse the technique 3D relief used in cinema and some television, which thanks to special glasses gives the impression of having an object that approaches and the creation of computer generated images to be watched on a screen. In this course we will not learn to make images in 3D reliefs. Be aware though that Blender is able to do it. So what happens when you want to create something in 3D? Already it depends on this something. With Blender you can create computer graphics, but also animations and video games. We can say that the only limits are your imagination and the time you spend on Blender. Of course, at the beginning it will start with rather simple images, which here are the stages of creation. Let's look briefly what are the stages of creation. Modeling. First, we begin with modeling. Modeling is about creating objects in three dimensions, like a virtual sculpture. For this, Blender will offer us many tools very useful for making beautiful objects. Then, the setting of materials and texture. This is where you will paint the objects to make them look real, like real materials, plastic, glass, metal, or give them a different style, cartoon, fantastic. Just after adjusting the materials, we attack the lighting. It is here that we place one or more lamps in the scene and to adjust the shadows. The following image all this. The construction of the Ariane 5 rocket in 3D. See, first we have a basic form, then there is the modelization, then we add materials, and then we add lighting. During our first practical work, we will spend the majority of our time on modeling, which is also the most fun part. A little presentation and history of Blender. Blender is free and free software. These are the strong points of Blender. It is also a powerful software. Blender is very light, about 20 megabytes. Finally, it is multi-platform. Some of the weak points. The software is a bit difficult to use at first. It is a bit confusing to use Blender for the first time, but that's why I'm doing this tutorial, to guide you step by step, so keep hope, you'll be rewarded. One of the undeniable assets of Blender is that it is completely free. Yes, it is even rare in the world of 3D graphics. Commercial software are usually overpriced. We are lucky to have Blender. But there are other 3D softwares like 3D Studio Max and Maya Are they better than Blender? Blender is relatively little renowned compared to the market leaders because although it is very powerful, it is less adapted to professional uses than these other tools. In the case of amateur graphic artists like us, it's the ideal tool because it's powerful and free. What you need to know is that no matter what software you use, it's your desire and your motivation that will make you progress. And I reassure you, you will not reach the limits of Blender, even after years of practice. What can Blender do correctly? Like images, animations, and others. I present its characteristics without going into much details of or using technical terms. It has an intuitive and powerful modeler, multiple animation method, possibility to create your own video games. Thanks to Blender Game, directly in the software, motion blur and focal blur, many import export format to use your work in other software, node system to improve its image without going through a 2D software, simulation of fluids to create jets of water in all directions, soft bodies, a physics engine to simulate collisions. Soft bodies, a physics engine to simulate collisions and deformations of objects, customizable interface, possible external renderings, Java Ray in Dingo to generate a more realistic image, Python Writer, which allows programmers to create a small plugin. Finally, I have concocted a small selection of images created with Blender, which you will find in my background here. First of all, there is this Zenvo car by Mark Cadeau. Then a video, Syntel, that I'll leave a link in the description. This is a very interesting small movie, very emotional. Then you have the robot, very nice image created with Blender by Henry Habaisan. Then oh no. Then the Scorpion by Gabik Black. And many more on Blender's official gallery. Some videos you'll find we've seen. This one is a nice video. I'll leave a link in the description. You'll see how powerful just Blender can be. And Elephant Dreams, another video created with Blender as well. So let's go through Blender installation. To use Blender, you may need to download it, right? For that, nothing more simple. It is enough to go on the official site of Blender and to click on download. Choose the version of that corresponds to your operating system and click on the link in bold. For most of you, this will be the first line. That is Blender for Windows, maybe operating system, 32-bit. For installation, do not bother. Always press next, next, next. Well, now Blender Foundation normally appears among your programs. The time has come to start it. If the installation was successful, verify that you have chosen the correct version of your operating system. Uninstall Blender and download it again. If the problem persists, you can get help by posting a message on the 3D Graphics forum, on my blog, liambi.com, or on Programmer Support Forum. I'll be there to assist you. After a moment of downloading, the software opens, like here in my background here. Hey software. What are all these buttons for? You may ask. All these buttons, what are they for? Yes, by default, what are all these buttons for? It's a little bit confusing when you first open this. And there is a cube in the middle. What is it for? this cube here. What's the cube for? So, and yes, Blender is all in English. There are some methods to translate it in your local language, but it is not interesting because all of the tutorials on Blender are made with the English version. In addition, the translated version is only partially, so if you can have, like, for example, a French-English mix, that is quite unpleasant. In summary, 3D is not reserved for an elite of graphic designers. Armed with these fabulous courses and Blender, you will soon be able to generate your first synthetic images. To create a 3D image, we go through several steps: modeling, the application of material, color, textures, and lighting. We'll study each of them in detail, as well as others, more original aspects of 3D, such as animation or the creation of a small video game. Free Software Blender will be our companion through this 3D adventure. In addition to being free, it has the advantage of being complete and powerful. What's more, used by people from all continents, the Blender interface is necessarily in English. Rest assured, even if you are not familiar with the language of Shakespeare, all the terms you will need are either very close to the language you currently use or translated and explained. The Blender download is based on your operating system, Windows 7, Mac OS X, or Linux. Thank you for following this part 1 tutorial on Blender. I know we didn't get into any details, but I'll see you in the next part, and I promise it will be much more interesting as we dive in deep the fabulous world of 3-dimension creation. Bye bye. See you next time.